Wednesdays with Johanna. I'm Johanna. We are here in my studio in southern Sweden. It's really summer outside today, so we have a bit of sun peeking through, and I hope that it won't mess with my light. But you never know. You get what you get, and that's the way it is. So it's been a while. Last week, COVID, I don't really want to say finally hit our house, but kind of in a way. We haven't been sick during the pandemic. Well, yeah, but not in COVID. But last week we were both, me and my husband, feeling under the weather. Luckily, my son is with his father, so he's not affected. And our 2-year-old, well, she did have a little bit of cough, but nothing more. I still feel it a little bit in my throat, and I can definitely feel it on my energy levels because they are really low. But one step at a time, and this week is at least better than last week, so now you finally get an update from me. It will be a short one because last week was not the most effective crafting wise, even if I had the time because I was mostly on the couch. But there was no energy for crafting, so I was taking it really slow, trying to use the energy that I had to take care of our 2-year-old because, yeah, that's needed for sure. But yeah, I did a little bit of crafting and I will tell you about it. And I also want to let you know that today I'm recording Wednesday, so yesterday, that's so weird to say, there was still a few advent calendars left in my shop. So if you want to check them out, you can go to the link that is down below. I will link everything down below that I talk about. But SKU advent calendars are made out of mini skeins and 50-gram skeins of our SKU number 1 base, and that is 100% wool base, 400 meters per 100 gram. You will get 24 mini skeins, each weighing about 10 grams. I'm usually quite generous with my minis, so they're more like 11-12 grams than 10. And yeah, there will be 24 of these, each packed up into a small package that you will get to open from 1st till 24th of December, and then they will match together with, they are in the top here, so I'm going to reach for one, so together with 4 different skeins of 50-gram wool yarn. Now these two are the same quality, so they go perfectly together. And yeah, they're suitable for like everything except socks because there aren't any nylon in them. I made sweaters, mittens, hats, cowls. Yeah. Blanket. You remember it? It's right here. I made the blanket as well because that was last year's advent project. Okay, so I've been testing for the advent calendar, not the colors 100%, but I've been testing one of the patterns that are coming together with the advent calendar. So this pattern won't be a surprise. The other one will, so I won't show you that one. But this pattern is actually also a tested for Kerstin. She was inspired by my mini skeins and the yarn, and she picked together 3 colors and put together a mitten pattern. So her first version, it looks like that, and it's called the Confetti mittens. And I have done one version, or I've started it. So I have a little bit of different color scheme than she had going on. I have blue, a green, and a yellow paired together with a light gray. And my first mitten, it's looking like this. So a corrugated rib down below and a structure pattern going up together with colored stripes. Or yeah, colored squares. This pattern is really fun, and this was what I was feeling like crafting last week when I was laying on the couch. And yeah, I really enjoy the progress, and it will soon grow up to be a full-on mitten and have its mate, preferably, so I can get 2 mittens done. That is one of the things I've been knitting on. The other thing is still my pattern, the Find a Way socks. I was really hoping to get these done, but I still have a little bit to go on the leg of the sock, and usually I'm not a 2 at a time person. I really like my socks to be 1 at a time, but for some reason I cast on both of them, maybe because I had 2 50-gram skeins of this yellow orangey thing, and I like this pattern work 2 at a time, because you have one that's starting with it and another one finishing off with the the structure pattern, or the traveling stitches actually in Estonian knitting. And yeah, but now I just want them done. So yesterday we had a small, I don't want to say road trip really, because it's just an hour drive, but we went to my parents and picked up a few things that we needed for a big project that is taking place next week. We're gonna change our sewage system, because we're not on the public sewage system, so we need to change ours, and we went up there to pick up a few things that they had that we needed. So we had a little bit of a road trip yesterday, and I knit the heels yesterday, so I managed to knit a little bit more on these socks now, and my goal is to have them done by next week. So I'm working almost exclusively on these socks now, because I wanted them done last week, but that didn't happen. But while I knitted this ones, I did the Flegel heel, and when you do the Flegel heel, when you come to the last round, you want to decrease 1 stitch from your back needle onto your front needle, so you will take away the last stitch. And that is a problem when you come to these 2 stitches. So I came up with a solution, and I will show you that one right now. Here is my new sock pattern, Find a Way. I've decided to make these 2 at a time, toe up, magic loop, and I have the Flegel heel in this pattern. So that's why I've done here. I've done the increases, and I've done all the short rows for the heel. And for the last step of that heel, you need to take 1 stitch from the back and join it together with 1 stitch from the front. And that is always kind of tricky when you have them on magic loop 2 at a time, because you can't reach from this one over here, because you have the entire other sock on that needle. So what I have done is I've taken the last stitch of the back needle and put it onto a stitch holder or a stitch marker. So once I get around to here, I simply bring up the stitch on my needle and can knit them together, and that way I decrease my last stitches on the back needle for the heel. So I will show you when I get to the stitch. Okay, so here I am, last stitch before I want to knit this last stitch and the stitch on my stitch marker together. So I make sure to pick up this stitch onto my needle and remove my stitch marker, and temporarily I put this one over here, so take them together and I knit these two stitches together. That means I've done my last decrease on my heel, and the flingle heel is all done for this sock. For my other sock, I still have this stitch hanging about over here. So what I will do is just to put that one on the needle before I start knitting here. Let's put it on the right way too. No, like that. And I take off the stitch marker. And what I will do is knit these two together. And that will close off my heel for the side. And then I just continue with my sock. Yeah, so that was my great solution for this. I took a stitch marker and placed the stitches on so I can bring them forward to my front needle, instead of picking it off an entire sock and having to put them back together again to be able to knit them two at a time. So that was my little small trick. Yeah, you know, my head is still not the best, so please bear with me. But this pattern is coming very, very soon to a place where you can buy patterns, either on Ravelry or on my website. It will be available for download really soon. So keep your eyes peeled and check out next week when I will have all the finishing details about this pattern. Find a Way socks. That was everything that I've been knitting on. I actually at the moment have some yarn on the stove. That is the last yarn that will be dyed before I go on vacation for a few weeks. We will have both the kids home, and yeah, we have some big projects taking place. So we will see how much knitting time I will have. But I want to have a lot of knitting time because I have so many projects in my head that I want to get out of it. So let's see how well I will do. Now, I want to show you my dahlias out in the garden, because in the beginning of summer I show you how, I think I showed you at least, how they didn't really take off because I had too many uninvited slugs keep eating them down to nothing again and again and again. So here's how we did, and now we actually get to enjoy some dahlia blossoming.
My poor dahlias have suffered from so many slug attacks. So now I'm thinking that I'm gonna do a rescue operation and actually put them into a container instead. It's not the prettiest container, but we will dig them up and put them in the container instead of having them suffer from the slugs. As you can see here, it's almost entirely eaten, all of it. So let's put them in a container and see if they can grow a little bit.
So we start with digging them up a little bit. It was easier to pull than to dig, actually. Ooh, 2 parts, well, that will work. And bring them over to our very pretty container. And then it's time to make a hole to put them in. I got help from my son this day, and he was not too keen on digging the hole first, but we got there, and he understood that it was most important to cover them up with some dirt, so dig them all down so they will grow in a better place. And we did that with all of the dahlias that we had. So this was the first one, and then we took all of them and made some holes and dug them down. So they will grow in this not very pretty container, but at least there will be less slugs than they were. And now look at them. This red one is my absolute favorite, and there is a yellow one and one that hasn't started blooming yet, but this red one, it's so intense and beautiful. That was it for today. I hope that you keep on knitting, even if it's summertime and a bit warmer. Now, I wish you a happy week and happy knitting. Bye.